I feel like I've been gone for like 6, 7 days type shit. But I'm back. I know you guys missed me. I seen the comments. I seen the DMs. You guys missed your favorite. I'm not gonna do that bullshit intro. Um, Side note. Apologies if the audio quality is ass. I'll show you a couple things. I on my time away, I've been doing some improvements to the studio. It looks better on this side than it does behind me. But I got this shit, and I'm still figuring out what all these buttons do. Fireface, RMC Fireface 3, if you want a pocket watch. But chat, what's going on? It's been a minute. I've been meaning, so I feel like I'm so loud. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. I've been meaning to do a trade recap since I got back on the charts. For those of you that are tapped in, I took a month-long break in the month of August because I only started trading in February, and I had good months in May, June, July. July was a fantastic month, best month financially of my entire life, and going into August, I had heard the stories of August price action, and call it fear-based trading or whatever. But I felt like at that point it was my 6 month. Is it my 6 month? March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, it's my 6 month, and I felt like it might do some good to get some time off the charts, just because it's kind of the only thing that I thought about for a couple months at a time. And yeah, I just thought it would be a really good mental break to hop off the charts. I'm gonna make a longer video about what I feel like I gained from getting off of the charts for such a long period of time, because I feel like I have bulletproof psychology at this point. I feel like I realized I don't even need to trade if I don't want to. I don't have to take setups that I don't like. It's so easy for me to get off the charts when I don't see a trade that I like. Hence why I've only traded 3 days since this month started. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to be fair, we've only had 5 trading days. But there's been 2 days, again, not including Labor Day, which was Monday. I didn't count that in my total of, what I'm saying. It's been like 6, 7 days. I gotta quit that shit. Anyways, it's been really easy for me to not trade, but I feel like the setups that I have taken have been pretty solid. And I'm going to do my best to walk through the trades that I took last week. I spent some time recharting them just because well, 2 reasons. One is because, whatever, I'm not going to get into all that. But basically, I got to rechart them, is what I'm getting at. So let's start with the first trade coming back. There's a lot of drawings on here because I wanted to be able to find my trades easily and not spend a ton of time here. So let's zoom into this first trade here. My first day back on the charts was Wednesday. I guess technically it was Tuesday, but I just didn't really see anything that I liked on Tuesday, so I ended up not trading. But let's go here, and the first thing that I've been doing lately, and I can't believe I wasn't doing this before, again, it's just like taking a break from the charts helped me kind of really just make my strategy simple and repeatable. So the first thing that I did when I got on the charts, I opened up TradingView, and I was like, well, what do I need to do? I need to chart out my major draws on liquidity. And what are my major draws on liquidity? Wait, I don't think this is the first day. It's not. It's one more day before this. Oh yeah, I couldn't remember how that trade went. Basically, I won a trade on Wednesday, but I tried to look at the trade and couldn't figure out what happened. So this is the second trade that I took. Won my first trade on Wednesday, and I can't look at my executions because I just passed these combines today, and I can't look back at my execution, so I don't know exactly when I entered. But these next 3 trades, or is it 4 trades? Whatever, the next amount of trades I have charted out. But the first thing I did is I charted out my highs and lows. So for me, Asia session opens up at 1700, which is 5 p.m. So I look at my chart, I look at 1700. Is that the low until 3 a.m.? Yep, this is the low, so that's Asia session lows. And then London session for me opens up at, it's actually 3 a.m. No, it's 2 a.m. Sorry, it's 2 a.m. my time. So these were the London session lows, and I did the same thing with the highs and lows, right? So these would have been Asia session highs, but they got taken out during London session, so they're no longer important. And then these are the London session highs. So I charted those out, London session highs, and I did the same thing for S&P, which I'm going to make a little bit smaller because I traded this on the NASDAQ. So then I just waited for market open. I don't recall if there was news or not this day, so forgive me for that. But dropping into our lower time frames, basically what I'm looking to see is I'm waiting to see at 9 a.m. PO3. That's essentially my whole strategy. I don't trade mechanically. I trade based off of kind of reasoning and seeing what the market is telling me. The 4th at 9 a.m. So this day, I actually took 3 trades, which was really funny because this was my second day back on the charts actually trading. I got a little bit impatient for this first trade. I'll show you basically exactly what happened. So we had market open and we came up and we took out London session highs on the S&P 500 and on NASDAQ. So there was no SMT, which is one of the biggest parts of my entry model. So again, I just stayed patient. I waited to see what happened and what was going to develop. And actually, no, I didn't take this first trade here. I remember I got really, really impulsive on this one. Because I did not wait for Asia session lows to get taken. I remember that vividly. I think I literally entered off of the SMT on this trade, and I put my stops at Asia session low. I have no reason to lie about a losing trade, by the way. But I think I was targeting something like this trade. Basically, I saw the, it might have been something like that. I want to drop into the 15 second, but then I'd have to, I know I entered on the 15 second for this trade specifically. I think I would have seen something like, we take out London session lows, then we dip a little bit, and then we have a 15 second change in the state or something. I just didn't wait for enough confluence, and I got stopped out of this trade. But that did not make me think price was not going to go higher. My overall narrative this day was that price was going to go higher. There was this huge unfilled gap, which is how these next 2 trades came into fruition. So basically, I just remained patient. I was like, all right, let me wait for my model to present itself. And that is what we did. So we ended up actually putting in a pretty significant SMT, which is what I should have been waiting for. We put in an SMT here with Asia session lows, where NASDAQ comes out, takes out these Asia session lows, and the S&P 500 fails to do so. And then what I wait for is I actually wait for my entry confluences, right? I don't just monkey brain into the trade, because if I did, I would have gotten stopped out, right? So I see the SMT get put in. We see a quick rally up. We see another dive down. I'm just looking to see, does this SMT hold, right? Because you can see this is basically right at macro open. We take out London highs, accumulate, 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 accumulate. 9 a.m. macro, manipulate outside this range, little retrace, a little bit more manipulation, and then we see this huge rally up. So my entry on this was actually on the 2-minute. There was a 2-minute, I forgot to chart this out, but there was a 2-minute change in the state of delivery, and this was also a 2-minute SIBI. This was a 2-minute SIBI right here. So I waited to see this 2-minute SIBI get invalidated, then I waited to see the change in the state and delivery, and then I entered with a 1 to 1.5 risk-reward ratio, basically just looking to break even, targeting, again, these swing highs right here. And trade hit after about an hour or so. This trade did take a little bit to play out. It didn't happen as, the distribution didn't happen as quickly as I thought it would. But this was the first trade, or the first 2 trades that I took on my second day. So at this point, I'm just break even. I'm up around like $1,300 to $1,600 on the combines. Can't exactly remember. And I don't know. I was back on the charts for the first time. I felt good. You know, I was up on my first batch of accounts on the month. A little chocolate milk W. How you doing? And I don't know what it is. I couldn't get off the charts. Not in like a bad way, but like I was genuinely just having fun watching the charts. Like I felt like it was like I was at the beach just watching the waves. Like I felt no urge to trade until I saw A+ setups. That was the deal here. I just got a little bit too excited, and that was why I re-entered on this trade, because I was very, very confident that price was going to go higher, because this was clearly 9 a.m. PO3. Like this could not have been any more textbook PO3. But then I was thinking, like, you know, we're in the context of all-time highs. We had this SMT with Asia session lows with the S&P and NASDAQ. We took out all of these major draws to the buy side. We also did have another big part of this was there was an SMT, a higher time frame SMT, was a daily SMT that ended up getting invalidated at this level right here, right after, was it that level actually? It might have been this level. Yeah, it was definitely this level right here. So there was this higher time, this is what it was right here. So there was this SMT at this level with the S&P 500 where the S&P was the lagging index. So on the higher time frames, the S&P 500 had failed to take this high when NASDAQ took the high. So the overall bias on the day is bullish. As you can see, we've clearly had a bullish narrative. And at 1 o'clock, my time, is when the 4-hour macro candle opens. So that is another PO3 opportunity. I generally don't trade past 10 a.m. But today I was just like, let me see if we get a big move off of the 4 p.m. candle. And I genuinely, I was like, I'm not going to risk a lot. Like, I'm going to target a crazy RR because I've had this theory. And this is why I took this trade. And this was a 20 RR. I posted it on my Snapchat when I took the trade. I have receipts that I took this trade. If you don't follow me on Snapchat, I'll post it in the comments. But I posted this trade on Snapchat when I took it with the execution markers, with the P&L, so you can see that I'm not bullshitting. And if you think that, I just moved my stop loss after I was in the green, so be it. I don't really need your validation. But the reason that I was kind of forward testing. I wanted to risk an amount. I didn't care if I lost, but I wanted to see if my theory was right. And what I noticed is that most of my winning trades, I feel like I spend nearly zero time in drawdown. Like this trade, for example, I spent a little bit of time in drawdown and I was just in the green. And I feel like that's a lot of my winning trades. So I wanted to kind of try that out with this trade. So what were my entry confluences here? So the first thing that I saw is I have this level marked out all day on the S&P 500. So I see at 12 o'clock we're kind of in this accumulation period, but the S&P 500 invalidates this bearish SMT because it was a high that it had just taken. So bearish SMT gets invalidated. Okay, interesting. And then we see this really big rally up, right? And then we come down right before macro open, and we put in this SMT with the S&P 500 inside of this fair value gap that we created, which I looked at as a breakaway gap, right? We were in this accumulation phase. We created a buy side imbalance, and now we're lacking displacement out of it. So my entry on this was literally a gamble. Like, I'm not going to be taking these trades often. I'm not advertising that I'm a trader who averages like a 20 RR with a 70% win rate, but I did take this trade, and I think it's pretty cool. I took this trade based on the fact that I did not think we were going to displace lower than the previous candle's closure. I did not think we were going to take any more lows. I thought we were just going to instantly rally, and that's what we saw happen. So I actually entered this one on the 15-second, 4th of September 2025. 4th of September. Where are we at, chat? Bang, there we are. I was basically targeting this swing high, and then I added a little bit more in the green because I thought that was going to get me, to pass my combines, but I guess I did the math wrong because I was still like $400 short, which is, I don't know how that happened because I could have swore I was like break even going into this trade, but whatever, it's not the point. I must have did my math wrong. But here's basically what I saw. So this is right before macro open. We put in this SMT, and then there's this 15-second imbalance, and I literally basically flip a coin, and my mindset is, if I'm right about where price wants to go, and price is going to invalidate this, we're inside of a 4-hour sell side imbalance, by the way. So if my intuition, I hate that word, but if my intuition is right and we are going to inverse this gap during the New York session, when would be another time that we do it outside of this 4-hour candle? It wouldn't happen. So I risked, I think, $60 on this trade. It was like 1 or 2 micros, super tight stop, because my mindset was, if we run this imbalance, this was I think this right here was a 1 minute or a 2 minute imbalance. If we run this imbalance and create displacement, that's going to act as our support, which it basically did, right? Again, we continue to be respectful of consequent encroachment of this buy side imbalance that we ended up creating. So then from there, it was basically I gambled based on the information that the market had given me, and then I rode this up to, I forget how many points it was. It wasn't a lot of points, yeah, 25 points, but super tight stops. So it's cool. You know, it didn't win me a ton of money. It didn't make me as much money as my first trade did this day, but I thought it was cool that it was a 20R. So now let's go into the trade that I took today, which I didn't fully chart out because I want to show you kind of the process that I used charting out. I think I left my drawings on from today. I even charted out Australia session, which is not something I normally do. But again, first thing that I do going into the day is I chart out any major imbalances I think are important to take note of. So the first one that I looked at was the fact that we had created a bullish imbalance during Asia session, and that's where Asia session lows were. So Asia session lows were kind of protected. I didn't really expect Asia session lows to get taken just because of the fact that, again, we created this imbalance. But something that we did have here is we had London session lows here, which I'll chart out again. Let me get rid of that. I just control Z something. I don't know what I did, but whatever. That's what I meant to delete, not the other one. Okay, so here we had our London session lows. And then we had the same ones on ES, I believe. Were these also London session lows? Yes, because this was pre-market. Okay, then we had London session lows on ES as well. And again, these are just the things that I'm looking at when I'm coming into the market. I want to get an idea of where my draws on liquidity are. These were our Asia session highs. And then these were our London session highs. And then I also did chart out the Australia session lows, which isn't something that I normally do by any stretch of the imagination. But I felt like these might be significant because of the fact that, I don't actually have that as a preset, so how often I don't do it. Whatever, I made it purple. But the reason that I put these Australian session lows is because I felt like these might get SMT'd. I thought if there was going to be any draw that we SMT today before going higher, because I did feel bullish, by the way, because of the fact that we created that imbalance. We tapped into the sell side inefficiency from Thursday, I believe that was, Friday. I don't remember exactly what day it was. Anyways, we tapped into that and lacked displacement through it, so I felt like we were going to be bullish today towards all-time highs. So I wanted to, again, just see some bearish confluence. Or excuse me, bullish confluence. So then I'm just watching market open. Lately, I've been watching on the 5-minute just because I feel like it's a little bit less overwhelming. Because what I want to see first is how we are reacting to draws on liquidity. So market open is at 8:30. And another thing that I'm looking at, by the way, is macro times as well. So I'm looking at the again, pre-market for me starts at 7 a.m. So I'm looking at, the price action from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm looking at the price action from 7:30 to 8:30. I'm looking at orb a little bit, opening range breakout. I'm looking at the first 15 minutes of price action. I'm looking at that range that we might SMT. I'm looking at the first 30 minutes that we might SMT. If it gets to 9:30 and I'm looking for my last trade, I might look to see how we're treating the highs and lows up to that level. And I do believe that came into play today. Let me see kind of where price started at. So where's market open, market open, market open. So yes, we did SMT London lows pre-market. So that was an SMT that I saw where I'm like, okay, so NASDAQ hasn't taken out London lows. Again, also another bullish confluence. And then, again, just kind of waiting. I don't really see anything that I love. We take out London and Asia session highs. So, again, just not too much that I'm seeing because a lot of my major draws already got taken. I see us put in this SMT here, but what I'm really looking at is the 15-minute on this. Let me zoom out one more time on both. 15-minute, 15-minute. Again, bear with me here. I'm going to kind of have to remember the trade that I took. Because I remember we SMT'd Asia session lows, saw this pump, saw this pullback, and then we created a 15-minute buy side imbalance on the on the NASDAQ. And after we SMT these pre-market lows at such an extreme level, after creating this buy-side imbalance, this is literally what I talked about in my strategy video. One of my major confluences that I look for before going into an entry is an SMT or a liquidity sweep taking place inside of a higher time frame PD array. So again, as much as we like to clown on support and resistance traders, there is something to be said about areas that price is going to have a tougher time moving through. So this 15-minute imbalance is going to be a lot tougher for the NASDAQ to move through it. So when I see this manipulation leg happening during 9 a.m. PO3, right, during close to the beginning of that 4-hour candle, we get an SMT, and I'm looking at the 2-minute now, right? I look at this 2-minute, and what do I see? Wait, was the CISD on the 2-minute, or was it on the 1-minute? Am I tripping? Hold on. It was I tripping? Was there no CISD? I could have swore it was on the 2-minute. Hang on. Because that's not a change in the state. I guess I marked that wrong. But it's whatever. There's a CISD here as well. But this is the exact point that I entered on. Again, I posted this trade on my Instagram story and on my Snapchat story today. But basically, we did have this SMT inside of a higher time frame PD array. We had clear draws on liquidity at this point. I was targeting these highs personally. And again, if you guys know me, when I am on combines, I am not looking to partial out anything. And I again used more risk on, or excuse me, less risk. I don't know how to put that. I used a higher RR, higher risk to reward, because one, I didn't really want to blow the accounts on a 1 to 1.5. And again, I'm kind of testing out this theory of I feel like I don't spend that much time in drawdown. But again, I'm trying to figure out exactly what I entered on here. It's pretty bad that I can't remember that off the top of my head. It doesn't look like it was the 15-second. I guess it might have been the 1-minute change in the state and the retrace. God, I wish I could remember what I entered on here. Let me look and see if the video I took helped at all. Because again, it's on my Snapchat story, so it's like you can't say I didn't take the trade. Looks like I took it on the 1-minute. Again, I guess another thing that I'm kind of just trying to think about how I took the trade. Another thing that I look for when I'm entering a trade is displacement, which we clearly got here. What do I mean by displacement? It's that we create a fair value gap on the way to the draw of liquidity. Because that's, again, kind of like proof in the pudding that, hey, price is going to go higher. Like, we create this really big imbalance, but that wasn't what I entered on. Forgive me, I don't know exactly what I entered on. It looks like it was a 1-minute change in the stakes. I'm looking at the 1-minute on this. Again, if you don't believe me, you don't have me on my socials. Here's me in this trade, just in case you don't believe me. There's also you can see exactly where I bought. It was, hold on, let me try to see if it shows. Oh, wait, you can see it there anyways. Yeah. So you can see, hopefully you can see, let me pull this up actually. Just in case you think I'm a liar. I have most of my trades screen recorded, by the way. I just like to look back on them from time to time. So that's the trade. You can see that my entry is going to be this second, this number right here, the lower one, the slightly lower one. The other one's my break even, because once we made that gap, I went break even. So I entered at 23,83175. My stops were at something, doesn't say exactly where it was, but I had a 9-point stop loss and a 54-point take profit. So I risked on this one, I don't know, it was a 6R, and I profited 545, which was, again, a little bit more than I needed. I only needed like 480 after I did the math, but I did all my math wrong. But yeah, this was the trade that I took. Again, I'm kind of experimenting with higher RR stuff. Not saying it's going to forever make its way into my strategy, but you know, it's been pretty cool so far. I wish I could remember exactly what I entered on this trade. To be fair, it is 12 hours later, basically. A lot of times my brain just kind of, like, I kind of just see stuff on the chart and I'm like, yeah, that looks good, and I enter. It looks like it would have been like I saw this change in the state, maybe. Yeah, this was the change in the state right here on the 1-minute. And then we inverse the 2-minute fair value. Yeah, now I'm really trying to figure this out. Inverse the 2-minute fair value gap, 1 minute change in the state, SMT inside of a higher time frame, PD array. Oh, wait, it could have been this. I think it was the retracement to the change in the state on the 15 second. Because we had this 15 second, or would it have been right here? Because that's not changing the state. Fuck it, I give up on trying to figure out what I did. But again, proof in the pudding. I took the trade. I said earlier on my post that I made that I have a 100% win rate so far in the month of September, because in my mind I do. I don't care about my trade winning percentage. I care about my daily win percentage. And since hopping back on the charts, I have not had a red day. I have not had a break-even day. I have only had winning days, and that's because I'm him. Just kidding. It's because I took some time off the charts, and I feel pretty good about the time that I spent off the charts. It gave me a lot of time to realign myself with my goals and why I'm trading in the first place. One thing I do want to say, and I think that I probably showed this by taking such a long absence from YouTube and social media. Trading, I started it off for me. I do it for me. I don't do it for anybody else. I don't post for validation. I started this channel specifically for me to kind of document this process that I'm doing, because I know that I would want to see it in the future and kind of just get a glimpse into what I was up to at this point in time in my life. But after I started posting these videos, I now have a very small community, but you guys are my dogs. Come on, you guys are my dogs. A community of people that actually get value from my videos. So that became something that I adjusted. I adjusted my strategy, if you will, with the content. So where, yes, I'm still doing this 100% for me, but there's also, not 100%, but I'm doing it, majority for me, but I also want to make sure I'm doing the best that I can to give you guys value. Now, with that being said, I knew that when I started the channel, it would be added pressure, because now I'm kind of like having to maintain expectations. I have to be profitable, I felt like, and I knew that would be an issue and something I kind of tried to handle psychologically, which that was kind of a part of the break too, was just to reset my psychology and feel good. But what I can say confidently now is I'm feeling really, really good about where I'm at with trading. I'm feeling really great about where the channel's at. And I do have some special stuff planned soon. Buy my course. Just kidding, not selling a course. But yeah, with that being said, longer video back. We're so freaking back. You guys have a beautiful, blessed night. Stay. You guys have a beautiful rest of your night. Stay safe on the charts. Q3 is coming to an end, and let's get that bread on Q4, baby. End video.